Welcome to Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. This podcast is about the journey to a more sustainable future in order for us to be able to do our bit to achieve net zero. I'll be discussing a variety of topics with experts in their field in order to educate and increase our knowledge of clean energy, electric vehicles and the electric vehicle infrastructure. So whether you're an individual wanting to make a difference at home, a small business or a corporate, this podcast is just for you. So today on the podcast, I have got Marc McLoughlin from Greenarc Vehicles, and he's based in Blackburn. Nice to meet you, Marc, finally.
Absolutely, third time's lucky. Nice to meet you too. Thanks for having me on.
Honestly, it was like catching smoke, wasn't it, really?
It was a series of unfortunate events.
I know, exactly. I think I was poorly the first time, wasn't I? But listen, we're on now. So thank you for joining me. It's brilliant. So you're based in Blackburn, and there's a whole story about you've had a name change recently, and you've kind of been acquired by another organisation. Give me a bit of your background and how you kind of got into this, into what you're doing now, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, I'll if you'll indulge me a quick minute, I'll take you right back to college. But I won't. Don't worry, I won't go that far back. But my father, John, was a bit of an entrepreneur and a businessman, and used to dress very nicely. He was very charismatic, and I kind of grew up around that. My brother's in business, my younger brother also in business as well, and kind of guess I always wanted to wear a suit and have a briefcase for work. So
not a bowler hat as well.
Now. Well, to be fair, I'd have got one if they'd have had them, but. I did a year at college doing business and finance because I thought that could facilitate a career in insurance or lending or something along those lines. And I did a year of that. Wasn't particularly conformist to a college environment. Unlike school, where they tell you where you need to be, at college they leave you to your own devices, and that was a bit dangerous for me as a 17-year-old. And I remember going to the careers office with a friend of mine, and we said, look, we both had enough of college. We want to get into the world of work. Our friends have got cars and they're going on holidays and things like that. And they said to us, look, we've got two businesses locally that have got in touch with us that are looking for apprentices. And he said, one is an insurance company and one is a motor finance company. Which one do you want? And we literally went like this and swapped them over, and I got the motor finance company, and I think it was called Paul, actually, Dobson, or Carl Dobson, I think. He got the insurance business. That motor finance company was a business in Blackburn called Haydock Finance, and I spent a few years there as a young kind of cheeky sales chap, kind of welcoming, getting used to the world of work. And you know what, looking back now, is some of the happiest times I've had in business for those years at Haydock. And I learned all about, dealing with customers and finance applications and credit searches and vehicle valuations. And that was my grounding in what was a small privately owned motor finance business. And that's what kind of set me off in this career, which is well suited to me because I like vehicles. I like numbers and financial stuff. And so it's really, really suited to my skill set. I'm a salesman by trade. I masquerade as a managing director by day, but I am a salesperson at heart. They're in a career in this space. That was more like hire purchase, dealer introduced loans for private individuals. Got involved in a little bit of business lending as well, what people would refer to as like asset finance. So I got involved in a little bit in that. We've financed everything from a batch of hens to a helicopter for businesses and all sorts of stuff in between. But mostly it certainly was, but it's mostly motor finance based, and kind of the hens can come. That's extra points on that. I remember that was for a farmer. I don't know if we actually did it, but £250,000 worth of chickens it was.
Oh my god!
Well, if you think about it, they need to borrow the money from somewhere, don't they, to finance their stock?
Well,
so yes, got involved in all sorts of stuff like that. There's a longer career journey, but it takes me around 2 or 3 motor finance providers, including Black Horse, Citibank. They had a division called the Associates. That was an American business. I actually had 3 spells at Haydock Finance in one guise or another.
Yeah,
I think I still hold the record there at their office in Blackburn, not too far away from where I am now. I've still got a lot of good friends there, actually, and we keep in touch and still do a little bit of business together. But yeah, my career up until getting involved in vehicle leasing was mostly to do with dealer-introduced prime and subprime car loans, basically. And then the emergence of direct lenders. So what I mean by that, people like Egg and Marks and Spencers and Tesco loans and people like that, that decimated the kind of independent motor finance business at the time, probably in the mid 90s or late 90s, probably actually, early 2000s. And yeah, it got more and more difficult for Haydock, where I was, and I ended up leaving the business. They were on their own journey, that kind of restructuring everything. And I went to work for a business in Blackburn called M&H Vehicle Contracts. A gentleman called Mark Hindle, who was from the motor trade. He'd worked with Haydock Finance, had a relationship there. And they were heading up a joint venture with Bowker Motor Group, which you might be aware of. They have BMW dealerships, and I think they may have Maserati and a Harley Davidson dealership and a couple of other things as well. A Porsche at Preston, the Porsche garage. Right. And the idea was that we'd bring together the vehicle leasing business and the motor dealer group database, and we'd bring those together and do more business. And ultimately that didn't work out. Spent a few years doing that. And it was at that point that I set up the limited company, and I think this is probably October 2007. We didn't go limited until the following March, so that October to March was me, spare bedroom, typewriter,
as you do,
you do. Yeah, and that was the start of the business journey. My older brother Lee, who up until recently was a 50% shareholder in Key Fleet, or Key Finance and Leasing as the limited company's called, he supported me with literally a laptop and a credit card and a little bit of personal cash we had, and we started a vehicle leasing business. It wasn't my intention to start a vehicle leasing business. I'd gone to great lengths to design an online vehicle retailing business that did PCP agreements and insurances and things like that. Yeah. And I almost stumbled into becoming a leasing brokerage in my attempts to try and procure a CRM system in the market. Right. I happened across a provider called Callas, who are well established in the leasing broker space, and they had a bit of a plug and play. Here's all your lenders, here's all your software, here's your website type opportunity. And by October 2007, I was in business. I think I made around 10 grand's worth of commission in my first month. I thought I should have done this years ago. It's easy. Never made anything like that money again since. But yeah, that was the start of it all, really. And that was 15 years ago-ish.
Oh my God. Goodness me, that is some time, isn't it?
It is.
So from Key Fleet to Greenarc, how did that happen? How did a fleet company and an energy company? So will you explain who Greenarc are and where they're based? But how did you guys decide that this was a match made in heaven?
Didn't take long, if I'm being honest, Liz. I will tell you the more elaborate version of that, but you kind of just love at first sight. When you know, it was a little bit like that. We kind of had a relationship with the guys anyway. I mean, Greenarc, I'll tell in more detail, but we're now fully owned by Greenarc Energy or Greenarc Group, depending on which day you ask me. And we're a group of businesses that are helping companies and individuals transition to cleaner energy through different hardware, software, technology. But we're very solutions based. Challenge we've got in the next kind of 12 months is pulling together all these different service offerings and product offerings into a coherent offering for our clients. I don't need convincing that there is a need out there for what we do. I've had 2 meetings this last week, which absolutely, if I needed any confirmation, it would just absolutely confirmed it. But I would say that to go back to your question originally, how did it happen? I think it happened because of decisions that we made in 2014, 2015, 2016. But if you allow me just to kind of fill the gaps a little bit from,
do it.
I'll do a short version of it. So if you imagine 15 years worth of trading, the first half of that, we were very much like a lot of current leasing businesses, we had a website and we had prices on there, and we dealt with private individuals and sole traders, some businesses, but really it was quite a remote, web-based, price-driven type business. And in, I think it was May 2014, we sold 63 vehicles. We had a team of 9 based at our offices in Blackburn, a place called Shadsworth. Lovely part of the world if you ever get a chance to go to it. I'm being sarcastic.
Okay.
And
I didn't know what to say then, because I have been to Blackburn. It's a long time ago.
I have friends that live there. They'll forgive me. But yeah, and I thought, you know what, we've cracked it. This is the most vehicles we've ever leased in a month. You know, back then there was something called stock that you could get as well. So cars got delivered quite quickly. You know, cars were in and out within a month. You kind of sold special offers and things like that. But when I actually factored in all the costs we had associated running the business, acquiring the leads, paying the wages, the rent, marketing was the big thing. But I think we've made about 400 or 500 quid in the month of 63 vehicles net.
Oh, God.
And I just remember speaking to my colleague Tony at the time, and I said, look, we've got to, I'm not doing this for the rest of my life. We've got to change our model and go after business in a different type of way. And unfortunately, in the model that we had at that time, it's high cost of acquisition, low conversion, low margin. And to be honest, it's a little bit soulless moving offers around a website, 50p here, a quid there, and you don't really build any relationships or add any real value up and above providing your customer with a really good value car lease. Might not be the right car, but it's, you know, they're picking their own vehicles and they're kind of clicking and checking out, so to speak. So we had been doing, at the same time as running that side of the business, we'd been doing more what I would call relational B2B type work. So still very much cars and contracts, you know, the same kind of fundamental offering, but we would sit in someone's office and we'd have a coffee and we'd talk about the 5 or 10 vehicles that they've got perhaps, and maybe we'd put a bit more relationship into it and try and add a little bit more value, mainly through the relationship. The rest of the value proposition came later, but at that moment in time it was cars and contracts face to face rather than online price club. And you know, the margin's a little bit better, but it was more so than the financial return was the fact that you were actually, it was more fun. You're working with people on a regular basis. You were leasing vehicles to them like every quarter instead of once every 3 years. You've met them face to face. It's what introduced us as well at the time into doing like local business networking and getting involved in it. So from there, 2014, 2015, we started to build an offering for what we perceived to be a need in the small and medium business marketplace, where they have vehicles but they do not have someone who knows how to look after them, to source them, to finance them. And drivers were a pain, and getting quotes together was a pain, and knowing what to run was a pain. And then we started getting asked for things like fuel cards, or could you help us with license checking, or could you rent us a van for a week? So you can imagine we started off with a skill level that was in advance, if you will, of our customer need when we had an online website, and then that reversed a little bit. We were out in front of businesses, and their needs were greater than our skill level and product offering at the time. So we really played catch up. We knew it was the right place to be. It was more in keeping with the skill set that a lot of my team had, including myself. And we continued to grow that. Very difficult though, because we went from kind of working in a almost Wolf of Wall Street type office environment to, you know, you could see it was like, you know, those films where something kind of rolls across the desert. It's like that quiet. Tumbleweed. That's it. I couldn't find the word there. Tumbleweed. And it was different, but it was just a different way of doing business and more suited to what we wanted to do. So we grew that. You into now maybe 15, 16, 17, 18. Some people left the business, as when you're making changes within a company, not everybody comes along for the full ride. Some people are only there for part of the journey, and I've experienced that firsthand myself. I still think I won't take much credit for many good decisions in business, but certainly the one to change our model was I'll give myself a pat on the back for that, because that was probably the big one that I think was a good move for us. And we started to build. So I worked with a gentleman called Marc McLoughlin for a few years, who was the ex-owner of a multi-million-pound vehicle leasing business based up in Leeds called Lease 360. Marc helped us bring the offering on, and we focused on providing solutions for businesses that didn't have a fleet manager or somebody outside of the office manager or FD or somebody like that got dumped with the vehicles. And throughout that period, going up to 2020, we invested in software. We made a six-figure investment into the software system that we call Keys. It's our fleet management proposition. We use it to manage our clients' vehicles internally, but also we sell it on subscription and as part of our managed services. So we do own a piece of software. So that's good fun as well. If you ever get a chance to own software and be a software business, fantastic way to invest a lot of money into something. But again, a good decision for us. At that time, we were probably paying a couple of grand a month in subscription fees to use other people's software. So investing in our own that suited our needs, that we thought would be better for our clients as well, was a good move. So I'm really fast forwarding here, Liz, but take you up to 2020, the dreaded C word. We all knew what we were doing, didn't we, in this early part of that year. As a small business with, the average leasing broker, I think I read, has between, I don't know, 2 and 5 months cash reserves to burn for the company. We were okay in that respect, but it's quite precarious when you're staring at a wage bill to pay and you're thinking, where's the next pound coming from business? So we weren't on our own with that. COVID was really challenging for lots of businesses, and ours was no different. So we furloughed a lot of the staff. I think that we were down to 2 or 3 of us working in the office out of a team of around 15, 16 people. And we got on with it, and we did what a lot of people did, which was try and adapt and embrace home working. And we had 3 people doing 4 jobs each, and we tried to get through. And I think one of the things that played well for us was, because we weren't a transactional business, our relational clients that dealt with us regularly continued to do business with us. We couldn't deliver many cars in 2020 because dealers were shut. It was only until the summertime we invented kind of remote, what do they call it, non-contact deliveries and things like that. But a little thing, well, I say a little thing, it's a small thing, a small sentence that had such a big impact on our business. And it was the 2020 announcement of 0% benefit in kind for company vehicles, for EVs. Now, electric vehicles for us, I probably could have counted on one hand the amount of electric vehicles we leased before 2020. And 2 of those were for us to use internally. So we like the idea of it all. I think that nobody, that certainly in the circles I was in, really anticipated the impact that some of the government incentives, both carrot and maybe stick as well, we're going to have on behaviours for companies. But and as you're probably aware, a lot of the take up for EVs has been in the company car market, or salary sacrifice arena, essentially all within that company car space. So suddenly, March, April 2020, we're being asked for Teslas and Polestars and such like. Now, what we cottoned onto very quickly was that our customers were very confused about the whole thing. Company car tax, national insurance implications, charging them, funding charge points, fuel reimbursement or energy reimbursement. And for us, as a business that had spent the last few years really doubling down on catering to the B2B market, really leaned into our strength quite a lot, because we were already in the business of demystifying vehicles for businesses. So when EVs came along, we kind of thought, you know what, this is a bit of us. We really like this. I'd spent years being ridiculed by some associates of mine that are in the same space as me, vehicle leasing. I have a WhatsApp group with some friends, they'll know who they are. And for many years, I was the brunt of the jokes of kind of focusing on doing B2B stuff as they're all doing lots of volume in B2C. And I think that, like, at the time when 2020 came along, our position of moving towards towards that was we were rewarded for it very much so, because it gave us, I feel like we had 50 yards head start in a 100-yard race, so that was really, really good for us. And I remember we had a meeting in the team towards the back end of 2020, and I think we'd done 30, 40, 50% of the cars we were doing were plug-in or an EV. And we kind of sat around the table as a management team and we said, look, if we're not careful, we're going to get pigeonholed a little bit here as the electric vehicle leasing company. And we said, you know what, that might not be the worst idea that we've ever had, to be honest. So don't get me wrong, we still do a large proportion of fossil fuel vehicles, and fossil fuel is not the enemy. If we came away from fossil fuel today, we would have a big problem, a much bigger problem than transitioning to EVs. But it's part of the journey. It's part of the picture. Yeah. It's done. Fossil fuels and combustion engines have done their bit and will continue to do it as we make these moves to more renewable technologies and cleaner energy. So if I kind of fast forward, Liz, you were worried that there might not be enough content. Now you're experiencing the fact that I don't shut up. So I apologise for that. But if I take you to kind of 2021, 2022, we continued on this path. We slightly tweaked our partner proposition. Now, as we were mentioning off air earlier, our partner proposition is what we do for companies that want a managed company car scheme. So it comes with all the things that you would hope a fleet provider could give you, which is a software system, accident management provision, pay on use maintenance if it's required. You can do vehicle rentals, all this type of stuff that a business would need that we do. But the real big bit, and I have to give my colleague Dave a lot of credit here, we spent a lot of time refining what we call our VRP, our vehicle replacement program, and that is the kind of the engine room of the whole managed company car scheme, because it gives these businesses who've never had a formal, generally never had a formal policy on who can have what vehicle and when and how and all the rest of it. It gives them a framework, a fleet structured approach to doing vehicles, but that has to be costed on a logic that you're probably familiar with called whole life costing or total cost of ownership, which is particularly, relevant for EVs, because the differentials on EV total cost of ownership versus diesels and petrols is vast. So suddenly we felt as though this was something that our customers needed to understand, and it was something that we could build fleet schemes around. So we repositioned that, we improved it, and we went out to market. I think we signed up more partners, what we call fleets, that are committed to us on the 3-year program. Then we signed up more in 18 months than we had done in the previous 5 years combined. But it was because we just got really focused, and we had a little bit of external help with that, with a chap called Andy Henderson, who runs a consultancy business in that area. But by focusing on what we were best at, got us the best results, absolutely. We launched our salary sacrifice program. Again, another managed scheme. You'd be familiar with this, I'm sure, Liz. Employee benefits program to give the rest of your staff that might not otherwise get access to a company car, give them access to an EV through the business. Really tax efficient. Great thing for businesses to do. Really cool thing for them to do. We launched that. Now, and I'm finally getting up to answer your question, which is where do Greenarc come into this? Well, Greenarc is the offspring, for want of a better word, of a more traditional oil business called Craggs Energy. Now, Craggs was formed by, forgive me, I've not been involved with the business that long, but my understanding of it was, 10 or 15 years ago, Chris formed or took over this family business, Craggs Energy, and they'd grown to, I think they've got a fleet of 40 or 50 oil delivery vehicles, tankers, if you will, that distribute their own oil and liquid fuels across the north of England and beyond. So people in these parts, and maybe even yourself, Liz, from Halifax, you may have heard of Craggs Energy. They're quite a well-known kind of local business. So, you mention them to anybody in Halifax or such areas, they've certainly heard of them. They also had 2 or 3 other businesses that again were derived from liquid fuels. They saw that perhaps the future development of the group needed to also include renewable technologies and help clients get into cleaner energy. Now, Craggs were a customer of ours. They were one of our partners. So in 2022, we were providing them with a lot of vehicles. We built a new scheme for them. We had a lot of interaction with their senior management team. We had a good relationship already, certainly with a couple of the guys that we'd known for many years. And I was saying to you kind of off air, when you sell a business, if you were to go to an accountant or an advisor and ask what is the process you go through, they'll give you advice about how to get ready and prepare for a sale and build value and all. Yeah, we went through the due diligence bit. It was almost like getting ready before you even start those conversations. We did none of that. We did nothing of the sort. We had a conversation with our friends at Craggs Energy, and Ben Duckworth, the marketing director, who we're very close with, was talking to me about Greenarc, and he was saying, look, as well as running our oil businesses, we also see that our customers have this transition to make, and we want to support that. And we started this new business, Greenarc, and yes, it still does some oil-based activities, like there's a fuel card business and a oil distribution, fuel distribution business in there as well. But we're heading down, the green revolution, so to speak. And Ben was waxing lyrical about the fact that they were investing in businesses and looking to acquire and growing exponentially. I think it was just off the back as well of them winning or being listed as the 14th fastest growing company in the Sunday Times Top 100 in their first year of trading. Again, which was attractive to us to get involved with this. And it was a chance conversation with Ben at a networking event, and he said, look, we're buying businesses and investing in businesses. And I said, does Chris and Craggs and Greenarc want to invest in a fleet leasing company? And therein started the conversations. I think we had a couple of kind of casual coffee meetings, which preceded a full kind of 10-hour meeting that myself, Chris Bingham, and Dave Turner, my sales director, had. We were all like, it was like we'd done 10 rounds with Mike Tyson by the end of it. We were knackered. We'd have post-it notes all around and whiteboards. But it was on the premise that they were looking to acquire and invest in businesses in this space, and they saw us as a good fit because of the electric vehicle focus and the fact that we were consultative and B2B. So if you remember what I said to you earlier, some of the things we decided to do over the last 10 years are the reasons why an energy company were interested in getting involved with us. And in particular, some of the things we decided to do since 2020 on the back of COVID and benefit in kind, etc. So, but in this same meeting, there was a proposal discussed about some investment being made by Greenarc in our business to work together. And I specifically asked Chris, I said, Chris, what exactly would you want to do with us, and how would we work together? And Chris described to me almost like a bit of a vision for the future. And that vision for the future was businesses with car parks full of electric vehicles, with charge points, being fed by solar panels and battery storage, heat pumps, software to manage the technologies, service provisions. And I think it took me about half a second to say, Chris, forget investing. How do we get involved with that? Because that sounds awesome. Because we had already been convinced that that's the way the future was going. Our conversations with our clients did nothing to dampen our enthusiasm for that outlook. So Chris shifted in his seat and saying like, "Oh, that's a different conversation," etc., etc. And after a few months of toing and froing and whatnot, we got our clearance from the FCA in November last year, and we became part of the Greenarc group. So Greenarc at that time and going forward is a business that does a number of different things. Like I said, one of the key things that we are aiming to do is at a high level is get involved with businesses and help them make this move to green energy. Now that could involve panels or cars or chargers or whatever it's going to involve. The technology is almost just a byproduct for what that client needs. We don't sell cars and we don't sell panels. We provide a solution that helps our clients get on that journey to net zero and get them where they need to be. So that's where we are at the moment. The group's continuing to grow. I thought I worked hard before, Liz, working double hard now. I have a boss now, so it's all new.
But
Matthew,
that's a bit
shout out.
weird, isn't it?
It is, but do you know what? I mean, I talk a lot, Liz, so people think I've got an ego, and I haven't really. I don't care whose name's over the door. I really don't. I just know we can do some awesome work together. And
Yes.
I've always wanted to, some people don't buy into the idea of people being interested in having legacy businesses and doing something worthwhile. But I believe in that. Call me an idealist or cheesy or whatever you want to say. I've always wanted to be involved in a business that did something awesome for customers that we can look back on and say, look what we did. In that great. And don't get me wrong, we all want to earn money and progress, and of course take all that as read. But I think we've got an opportunity within this group of businesses to actually leave a mark on the country, the world, whatever it's going to be, where we're doing something that's really, really important for companies, and something that, quite frankly, they're completely confused about. And
Oh God, you're not wrong.
yeah,
Yeah, and I was one of them, to be honest, Mark, right? That, kind of December time or before, well, probably, yeah, from I'd say probably this time last year, I started kind of looking at things, and we were, as a family, we were looking at kind of moving to EVs and, kind of solar and heat pumps and, battery storage and all this kind of stuff. And it's taken a number of conversations like this to be able to understand and kind of decide what we want to do, and if it wasn't for people like you coming on this, we wouldn't be as far forward as we have been. And yes, of course, I'd say I'm a bit entrepreneurial, whereas I've kind of, I mean, I know we kind of you contacted me, didn't you? And I've contacted other people and blah blah blah. But yeah, it's a bit like walking through treacle, isn't it? Sometimes you're a bit like, oh my God.
It is as well, and I think it's important, whether it's vehicles or solar or whatever it is, it's important to know when to do things as well, because unfortunately, if you
Yeah.
are a business that sells solar, or you're an EV charging company, or you're a vehicle leasing brokerage, guess what they want to sell you? That's what they want you to have.
Of
And
course they
I
do.
think the feedback I've had from clients is like, look, we are thinking of doing solar. So we've got 5 quotes from different providers. We are thinking of going to EVs. So the driver's been looking at Teslas, and we've got a quote from a leasing broker, and you end up like getting into commodity purchasing mode. Whereas in fact, what you need is all this stuff to talk to each other and be part of a strategic, whether it's a domestic or a commercial need. You need to
Yeah.
string it all together. I mean, I was with a client last week, and myself and Ben had a tour around their factory, and we weren't in there talking about cars or anything else. We were in there saying, tell us what your challenges are. And clearly, carbon reduction, ESG, attracting the right talent, securing future contracts through waiting on carbon reduction. All this stuff was really prevalent for this business. But around the site, we were able to spot lots of opportunities to do something. And that was everything from carbon offsetting to propane tanks to electric cars, whatever it would be. But on the roof of the building, you've got a solar array that's 15 years old we don't even know if it's working. You've got electric charge points outside that aren't compatible to take solar energy. So you can see this is the challenge that businesses have got, is if you just go and buy stuff, you might buy the wrong stuff, and it's an expensive
Exactly.
mistake to make, and ultimately not going to give you what you want to do. So, and I love that. I mean, me and my colleagues are all about a solution and a partnership, and I think that's why one of the reasons why we wanted to work with Greenarc. Notwithstanding, I think it's also important that you've really got to take a lot of time to understand who you're going to be working with and the culture of the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we knew a lot of the people, and I've never told them this, but I did lots of investigation around different people, and I got nothing but good reports about everybody, and it's just so exciting now that I'm a little bit excitable, because in a small business that's privately funded, there may be 5 things that that you should be doing that require some investment, and maybe you can only choose 2 or 3 of them because of the financial limitations. And now we've got 6 feet on the accelerators, and we've got everything going on. I bet you've never heard that terminology before.
No.
Me neither. But yeah, we've got loads of stuff going on. We've managed to bring some awesome people into the business. We're all working really hard. And I just feel as though we're in a space that's so kind of topical. It's such a challenge for companies. And every time we have a conversation about it, I am just more and more reassured that people need our help.
It's good to see a joined up approach, to be honest. And and like this, like you say, it's the kind of yours is more hand holding, isn't it?
I think, yeah, definitely.
It's hand holding through all of the areas that people aren't sure about, because you if you're a business, you're kind of used to what you do as a business. You buy stuff, you sell stuff, whether it's a product or a service, but you don't necessarily that this kind of this whole 2030 2050, it's all kind of looming, but you keep looking at your business, don't you? So
you do, and some of these dates, Liz, definitely, and these dates seem like they're a long way away, but we'll be in 2024 before you know it.
Oh my God,
it's 2 vehicle cycles away from 2030. The government's reaffirmed the position on that with the zero emission mandate that got announced last couple of weeks. Europe's for the most part following suit. I know there's a conversation around what role e-fuels or biofuels have to play in that, and maybe they're part of the picture. It's like we're not evangelical about EVs, if you pardon the pun. We just believe that's the right route to take, but it's about knowing when to do it, how to do it, who to do it with. And there might be stutter steps along the way, and you can't just pull the needle out straight away. It's about just getting there in a gradual way that aligns with the other company objectives that you've got. And what mustn't get lost with this as well, Liz, is we found that there's lots of any leasing company will lease you a Tesla. That's not difficult. They will, or whether it or a Polestar or whatever it's going to be. But actually working with a company to help you understand how to do it is quite rare, and we think we're in a unique space doing that. And it's not just for the businesses, it's the drivers as well. Traditionally, a company car scheme might involve your office manager, fleet manager, putting a list of vehicles in front of you that's been provided by a leasing company. Well, that's really helpful if you don't know what half the cars are, or how to charge them, or how to fuel them, isn't it? It's like,
exactly.
So guess what they're going to do? They're going to pick a diesel, aren't they? Because that's what they know. And then in the boardroom, you kind of say, well, that's not what we wanted. We want to go EV because we've got these carbon objectives. So we found that by spending more time with the drivers, who, let's be honest, are probably getting in their first EV. It's the first time they've ever had one.
Yeah.
Spending time with them on what we call driver consultations, which often take place on Teams calls like this or similar. You've got to get into the nitty gritty. Tell me what your have you got any concerns about it? Talk to me about whether or not you've got off-street parking for charging. Talk to me about your journeys. Have you considered Polestar, BYD, or these different brands that they've never heard of, and they need to jump on a website with you on a live Teams call and actually look at the cars and the colours and another thing we use a lot is ZapMap. You'll be more than familiar with that, I'm sure. We will jump on ZapMap with our drivers for our clients, and we will have a look at what the infrastructure looks like around where they live, where they work, and their journeys as well. Right. And sometimes we say to people, don't get an EV.
Yeah.
Or if there's a business case for it, we might prescribe a plug-in hybrid or similar. So it's about a balanced approach to all of this stuff and doing the right thing at the right time.
No, absolutely. I was going to say, so I said to you before we start recording, I'm travelling up to Halifax tomorrow, and kind of we've not got an EV just yet, and I was looking at on ZapMap the kind of charge points that are up that neck of the woods, and I was just thinking, right, okay, so we've still got a petrol at the moment, but there isn't very much infrastructure that I could see.
I think you're right. I don't think it's a great spot, actually, Halifax.
No. I tell you, it's got really crap phone network. Never mind EV charging.
Yeah,
I'm on Vodafone. I can never. I might as well use a couple of baked bean tins and a bit of string. You know what I mean?
Well, we're all right. You mentioned Halifax a couple of times. Our kind of HQ's based out of a place called Dean Clough in Halifax. You're familiar with it? Huge ex-carpet manufacturer, I believe, biggest carpet manufacturer in Europe. Crossley's, that's right. Yeah. I'd never heard of it until I went there a few months ago. And it's this like such an awesome place. It's our kind of flagship site, if you will. And some of the other Greenarc businesses are based there. And we get over there, like I say, once or twice a week. But it's not brilliant in Halifax. But again, because we're in the company car market, we have a lot of our drivers do have off-street parking. And when you actually factor in with the driver that they're doing around 50 miles a day, they're going to get a car with 250-mile range. They can park at home, and they make one trip to London every 3 months, and they're saving £400 a month on company car tax.
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, the proposition looks a lot more attractive to them. And the thing is as well with EVs, that one of the kind of narratives that bugs me is people kind of talk about, I'll do it when I need to. It's like, well, I drive a Tesla. We've got an i4 in the business, a couple of Cupra Borns. The cool as hell. Oh, Cupra Born.
Yeah.
Love them.
Yeah.
Love them. They're such a cool car. But they're all really cool. They're ace to drive. They're really nippy. They've got all the tech in them. I got an upgrade on my Tesla about a week ago, Liz, that gave me parking sensors. I didn't have them before. Is it over-the-air software update that introduced a new piece of tech in my car? So
see that just excites the hell out of me, I've got to say.
It's
just
awesome,
being able to have that, that option's amazing.
It is great, and I love them. I've never been a petrol head, but I'm definitely a battery head, if that's the right word. I enjoy the technology a lot more than the mechanics, if you will. So it's reignited in me. Person. Yeah, you're the same. Yeah, it's ignited in me and the team like a renewed, enthusiasm for the cars. I would say, because let's be honest, there wasn't, apart from some technology in the cockpit, there wasn't an awful lot going on in diesel and petrol world, was there, up until EVs came in?
And I do like cars. I called myself a petrol head in the last podcast I was talking to somebody on. I wouldn't say I am the same as some blokes who are real petrol heads, but actually I love technology. Absolutely love technology. I love learning about the technology, and and actually just seeing some of these cars that actually park themselves up, and I was like, what? Are you having a laugh?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Well, that's kind of one of the reasons I went for a Tesla, because I felt like it would have been easy to get one of the Germanic cars, BMW, Audi, Merc, stuff like that. But I wanted to. I felt like in my role, it would be helpful for me to get one of the new kids on the block and a different type of thing. I mean, driving a Tesla in particular is a completely different car experience. You sat in the car and you've literally nothing in front of you. It's all on the screen, and it's quite unusual to get used to. But once you get used to it, I absolutely love my car. It's brilliant.
Do you? I know lots of people do. Yeah, I must admit, like I say, it's not high on my agenda, but I totally get why people like it.
Yeah.
I was talking.
Have you driven many EVs, Liz?
Oh yeah. So I've driven about kind of 6 or 8.
Yeah.
So I've
did you enjoy the experience?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so nippy. My God, I was just like, and quiet, and just the experience is amazing. So I'm really excited about moving over to one. But going back, I was talking to Sam Clark before Christmas, and and he was basically talking about his Tesla, and he'd left his notepad. This wasn't on the recording, by the way, but he'd left his notepad in the car, and the car was doing an update. And he couldn't get into the car to get his notepad, but it was fine anyway. But you know what I mean? And I was like, "What? You couldn't
not without its challenges. Not without its challenges."
Yeah. But the fact that I know from kind of talking to another of my interviewees, Lash from Izu, he was basically talking about he'd had a Tesla since something like 2015, and the technology still hasn't caught up in a lot of the OEMs now. So I get it. I do. I totally get it. It's just not quite on my radar.
It will be. Well, this is the thing. Eventually, we're bar some kind of. I know some people believe that hydrogen cars have got a part to play. Look, I ain't got a crystal ball, but I doubt it. I think electric cars is kind of where we're at. Hydrogen in some kind of commercial transport, perhaps, and industrial process. Yeah, I get that. But I think the horse has bolted. I think EVs is where it's at for company vehicles, and that's what we're helping our customers get into. But if you were just out in the market looking at the price as a business, you probably avoid them. It's only until you understand the complete picture that you suddenly realise that this is a good thing for the company. And I think you can't understate the we were talking earlier. I was at the Greater Manchester Chamber of Commerce this morning, who we've got some events planned with, and we were talking about how, you know, a lot of the next generation coming out of university, they want to work for progressive, you know, conscious businesses
Yes.
that are great places to work, that are offering great benefits and are progressive with, you know, things like electric vehicles. So, and that's one of the reasons why we're so excited about what we're doing at Greenarc, because I think it's an attractive place for people to work, and we've done a lot of work on introducing some awesome benefits and, you know, EVs through salary sacrifice and healthcare and all the rest of it. And yeah, it's just, can you tell I'm a bit excited, Liz?
You are excited, Gil. And actually, do you know what? I want to finish off by talking about that event, the events that you're talking about. So,
Yeah.
you've got a Go Electric event in Brockholes, haven't you? But you're also talking about, said to me before we were recording, that you've got other events that you're trying to, you know, so about the benefits of electric vehicles. Just give us a bit of
Yes.
a roundup on that one, will you?
Well, I think generally the idea is that, and I'm sure everyone you've had on this podcast is in a similar opinion, the opportunity to educate clients and demystify is great with electric vehicles. You know, it's certainly something that there's a lot of misinformation around and a lot of misunderstanding around, and just a lot of no understanding as well. So we see that as an opportunity for us to help our clients understand. And we see events as an ideal way to do that. But we're not there just flogging our wares. We are there, don't get me wrong, of course, it'd be nice to do some business there, but we're there to educate and position ourselves as experts in this space. And we are partnering with our local DNO, Electricity Northwest, are coming along. They're going to be talking about the grid and charging and infrastructure and investment and maybe what they've done with their own fleet of vehicles, which we think is very credible. We've got the Chamber of Commerce low carbon guys there as well. They're going to be talking about net zero and what a resource that the Chamber can be to help companies with this type of thing, either to signpost them or arrange funding. Our friends at Polestar are coming along. I think Molly Kelly and Matt Hawkins are going to be attending from Polestar. They're going to bring one or two vehicles with them to have a look around. Test drives is a bit challenging when you've got a couple of hours to kind of get everybody together, but certainly having a look at the vehicles and booking test drives and demos and telling us a little bit about the brand and some of the vehicles they've got coming around. And that's an interesting piece. A lot of these new manufacturers, Liz, they don't have a traditional route to market through a dealer network.
No, I know Polestar don't, do they? Yeah.
Polestar don't, you know, Genesis, I could name two or three other ones as well. I mean, I think Genesis have almost like a regional personal shopper type approach. So I think for us as a,
like
as a yeah, no, it seems to work, doesn't it? And I think there's some pressure on dealers in this respect as well. What does the future hold for this franchise network of independent, you know, dealerships offering branded cars? But I think it's given our clients an opportunity to see vehicles that aren't as easy to access as a traditional local dealer. You know, Polestar, for instance, they have the Trafford Centre, they have Solihull, they have Bicester, but there's not, you know, there's certainly not as many places as there are BMW and Mercedes and things like this. So it's an opportunity for our clients to see cars that they've not seen before, ask questions, maybe book demonstrations. And we've also got our colleague Jeff Whitcomb, who's an automotive tax specialist. Jeff would be a really good guy for you to get on here. Actually, he's recognised as one of the leading automotive tax guys in the UK, and he's very knowledgeable in the space of a salary sacrifice as well. So if you want to talk to Jeff about that particular market, it'd be really, really good. So Jeff's coming to, you know, not do him a disservice, but do the numbers. Jeff's coming along to talk about tax and how it all works, and in particular salary sacrifice. So we think that lineup answers some of the questions that customers have got. It covers a lot of bases, and this is why we're not just there doing one or two things. So we're calling these our Go Electric events. The first one's at, like you said, on the 20th of April. We're giving ourselves a full 3 weeks to get ready, which is good fun. I think we have around 60 people registered so far. We'll have some fallout, but you know, anything more than 50 we'd be absolutely delighted with. That's going to be our pilot event. We've had some great success over the years working with chambers. It's been fundamental to what we've done. And as a result of that, we have partnered with or joined, I think, around 6 or 7 chambers of commerce across the UK. And we intend to take the Go Electric road show on the road. That's what we are trying to do. So that's going to take up a lot of my time. And I expect that we will have events this year, or certainly the next 12 months, in Oxford, Newcastle, Sheffield, Manchester, Birmingham, Nottingham, and a few other places as well. So that's going to be really good fun. But this is a good thing. Like the journey that we're going on at Greenarc is a bit like our customers. None of us have done this before. So we're building this business and putting it all together. And that's one of the things that really excites me about it is the opportunities we've got.
No, it's good. And so just finishing off, so I'm just looking. So your website is greenarcvehicles.co.uk, isn't it?
greenarcvehicles.co.uk for the vehicle division, greenarcenergy.co.uk, which should tell you a little bit more about what the group does and how we're helping clients more holistically, like above just vehicles. But yes, those are our two websites.
And how do people get hold of you personally then? Is there would you prefer them to go through the website, through the contact pages, or can they contact you direct if they're interested in talking to you?
Absolutely, contact me directly. I live within LinkedIn.
Yes, you do.
So,
I've seen you lots.
If you reach out to me on there, there's a good chance I'm listening. I'm there. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you from there. The event itself is on LinkedIn as well under my profile.
Yes.
So if people wanted to come along to Brockles or even just get in touch with me to go on a list for when the events are coming to their area, we'd certainly love to hear from them.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. It's been really interesting talking to you, Mark. We've finally managed it. Finally managed it. So
stop making me feel bad.
I'll keep doing it. Come on. But listen, thank you ever so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope to kind of, I might even have a bit of a nosy down at Dean Clough while I'm up in Halifax.
Yeah, come and see us. That'd be nice.
Yeah, we'll do.
Might even get you a spot of lunch.
Hey, you're on.
Liz, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Appreciative to you as well. So listen, thank you very much. And for everybody else, I'm going to say, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been watching Electric Evolution with Liz Allan. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon and you'll receive all of our weekly videos. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.